Good afternoon, boys and girls. Welcome back. Today is Wednesday, September 19, 2020. And today we're working on Lesson 3, Module 1. Let's find out what is it about. Our daily goal is that at the end of the day, make sure you turn in your assignment, your exit ticket, and you work so hard that you score an 85 or higher. The materials for today is your Learn book, the blue one, your practice book, which is the yellow one, and a pencil. Let's go over the expectations while you're watching the video. First, you're sitting tall like a star. You're always looking at the teacher at the video. You have all the materials ready in part. You're doing all your work, and you respect yourself and others by turning in your work. If you have any questions, make sure you always go back to the video, to the channel, the Eureka channel. And that you log in to Hotspot and complete 2 lessons per day. Well, what's Lesson 3 about? Well, our objective is by the end of the lesson, you're going to be able to add and subtract like units. Your turn. What's the objective for today? Get ready. Yes, I will add and subtract like units. And how do we do that? Well, let's see. Let's learn what are the important things that we need to learn. Well, first, we need to know what like units are. So frog and a frog, they're the same thing. They're like units. Ones and ones are like units, and tens are like units. But what's a 1? A 1 is a place value unit of 10, of which may be composed to make a 10. So 10 ones make up 1 10. And what's a 10? A 10 is also a place value unit, and it's composed of 10 ones. And remember, today we're going to be working on addition and subtraction. So here are the steps that we're going to follow to make sure we know how to add and subtract. Let's look at the steps for addition. Well, the first step I do is circle the greatest number. And the greatest number is another word for the biggest number. The problem that I have is 51 plus 20. So I circle the 51. Step number 2 is I decompose by tens and ones. I'm decomposing the greatest number. So decompose is another word for break apart. So I have to break apart the 51 into a 50 and a 1. The third step that I follow is I add the tens. So they're like units. I add the tens, that in this case it's a 50, and I add the tens on the other addend, which is a 20. I add 50 plus 20 equals 70. And the last step I follow is that I add the leftover numbers. So the leftover number was a 1, so I add 70 plus 1, and that gave me the answer of 71. Those are all the addition steps. Now let's talk about the subtraction steps. The first step, now I'm going to work the problem 51 minus 20. The first step I do is I circle the greatest number. Remember, greatest is another word for biggest. In this case, the number is 51. Then step number 2 is that I decompose by tens and ones. Remember, decompose, it's another word for break apart. So I have to break apart the number 71 in tens and ones, which is a 70 and a 1. Step number 3 is subtract the tens, boys and girls. And I have to subtract the tens because they're like units. I have to subtract the tens with the tens and the ones with the ones. So in this case, I will subtract 70 minus 20, and that equals to 50. Now let's do step number 4. The last step is add the leftover numbers. So 71 minus 20 equals to 50. Then I add the number that is left over, and the number that is left over is a 1. So 50 plus 1 equals 51. Look at this. It is so easy to follow the steps and add and subtract. I want you to really pay attention at the steps and tell me, what do you notice? I'm going to give you some thinking time. What do you notice? Look at all the steps. Are you ready? Let's see if you notice the same thing than me. So, step number 1 and step number 1 is the same. Step number 2 and step number 2 is exactly the same. But let's look at step number 3. Step number 3 says add, and step number 3 says subtract. I noticed that step number 3 is different, and the reason that is different is because in one of them I'm adding and the other one I'm subtracting. Now, but step number 4 is the same. Boys and girls, guess what? As long as you follow the same steps, the only one that you really need to think about is step number 3. You have to look at the equation sign. You have to see, does it say addition or does it say subtraction? But if I follow the steps, I'm going to be able to figure out the answer. Hug yourselves if you notice the same thing I did. Boys and girls, today we're going to practice how to add and subtract using the number bond. And I want to tell you why it's so important to add using like units. So let's say you go to the store and this toy costs $20. And my favorite toy costs $50. Well, what's the total? Well, I know that 20 plus 50 makes 70. And I was able to solve that problem so fast because I added the 2 tens. So let's start working and let's practice adding and subtracting with like units. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to open the Learn book, which is the blue book, to page number 8. And I'm going to give you 10 seconds to do that. Number 8 is the back of the application problem, and it's okay. I want you to do this. I know you can see a little bit of this, but it's because I already done it before and I had to redo it. My computer froze. So, what I want you to do is I want you to copy the key points because it's so important we're able to reference them. So what I want you to do is we're going to copy the key points together. And then if you're not done, you can pause the video. The first thing is that I draw a line going down and I'm going to write addition. Number 1, remember I write you right. The first key point is circle the greatest number. Remember, if you don't finish, you can pause the video. That's the first step. I circle the greatest number. The second step I do is I decompose by tens and ones. That's by units. And I'm going to put it like this so you can remember that decompose means I break it apart like that. The third step is that I add the tens. I add when I'm adding, and I add the tens. And then I add the leftover numbers. I add the leftover numbers. If you are not done copying this, it's okay. Pause the video and don't move on until you're done copying all the steps. The second step I have to do, now that I'm done writing the addition, now I have to continue with the subtraction steps. Remember, step 1 and 2 and 4 are always the same. Which step 1 is I circle the greatest number, which greatest is the biggest number. Step number 2 is decompose by tens and ones. Remember, another word for decompose is break apart. Here's a different step. Since I'm subtracting, I need to subtract. And you know what, boys and girls? And I'm going to subtract. The unit that I'm going to subtract is the tens or the ones. It depends. I'm going to put the little subtraction sign on top. And I'm going to put the little addition sign on top so I can remember. And the last step that I always follow is I add the leftover numbers. And both of them, I add the leftover numbers. Well, let's see. Let's practice. I'm going to move to page number 1. And the first thing I'm going to do is I write idea 56 and 57. Idea 56 is write your name and date. Full name with the date is 8/19/20, and idea 57 is the goal, which is goal equals Eureka. I'm going to get a 100 on my annual module. I'm going to wait for all of you to finish writing. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to do that. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you should be ready. If not, pause the video. We're going to skip this part, and you're going to work on this later. We're going to solve problem number 2A. Oh, well, let's look at the signs so that way I can know what steps to follow. I see an addition sign, so I'm going to come here to my addition steps. So the first step I do is circle the greatest number. I have a 24 and a 5. Circle the greatest number. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. I circle 24 just like you did. I'm sure you did it. Step number 2, it says decompose by tens and ones. I have to break apart that number by tens and ones. Well, I have 2 tens, and the value of 2 tens is 20, and I have 4 ones, so I write a 4. So I have a 20 and a 4. Now the next step, and we're working on adding like units, and it says add tens. But look, boys and girls, do I have tens? No, I don't. What units do I have that are alike? You're absolutely right. I have ones. So what I have to do is I add the ones because they are in the same place value. I add 4 plus 5 equals 9. So I already figured out 9. Now I add the number that is left over. The number that is left over is a 20. So I add 20 plus 9 equals 29. And I follow the quick steps and I'm able to figure out the answer. Quick and simple. If you are not done writing, pause the video and finish writing. Now we're going to look at another problem. We're going to work on problem number 2C. Everybody touch there. Let's read the problem. It says 78 minus 3. It's a subtraction because I see the sign right here, boys and girls. So let's follow the steps of the subtraction, and they're right here. The first one is circle the greatest number. Let's circle the greatest number. I bet you circle 78 like I did. Terrific. Step number 2 says decompose by tens and ones. Decompose is I break it apart. I have 7 tens and 8 ones. So 7 tens, the value is 70. And I have 8 ones. And I write it here. I'm done decomposing decomposing by tens and ones. Step number 3 says subtract tens. Can I subtract tens in here? No, I can't. But can I subtract the like unit? Absolutely, I can subtract the ones. So I add 8 minus 3. What's 8 minus 3? Well, 8 minus 3 equals 5. I'm done with step number 3. I have to now follow step number 4. And step number 4 is add the leftover numbers. And the leftover number is 70. So I add 70 plus 5 equals 75. Look how easy and simple I was able to solve those problems just by following those steps, boys and girls. Those are the only problems that we're going to solve right now. We'll work on the rest of the problems when we go to class. Thank you for your hard work. Now, when you go back to class, I want you to type in. You're going to log in, mute yourself, and type in the chat box the total number of brothers and sisters you have. Let me tell you, I have 2 sisters, one older and one younger. Remember to log into your team's calendar at 12:58 for the live sessions. Make sure you watch the video because I will not be able to watch the video in class today. Thank you for all your hard work, and I'll see you later.